Go to Copenhagen and speak to Mohammed Shehada, Chief of Communications for the Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor. Welcome to the program, Mohammed. What are your colleagues, what are people who you're in touch with telling you about northern Gaza in particular?
I have colleagues currently in northern Gaza. They say it's the worst it's ever been since the start of the war. This is peak genocidal moment in Israel's war on Gaza. It's a campaign that is premised on four main pillars. One is mass starvation, and I mean that literally. Israel is going to great lengths to ensure that people there starve to near death or full death, so preventing aid from coming in, bombing the only bakery in the very north of Gaza, bombing people while they were queuing for aid. And the second pillar is mass extermination, mass killing, and inflicting wounds on a massive scale, which is coupled with the third pillar of basically shutting down hospitals, ensuring that hospitals are out of operation so people would have to leave. And the fourth and final pillar is what you see now with full-fledged ethnic cleansing. Israel literally rounding up people from schools, from hospitals, from shelters, and putting them on death marches and forcing them at gunpoint to march to the south of Gaza, or else they would be killed. And even in these death marches, the IDF separates men, even children above the age of 14, from women and the rest of the kids. And they take men away to schools that have been turned into IDF military bases, where they are subjected to facial recognition technology. And any person merely suspected of having any partisanship with Hamas, or even being a relative of a Hamas member, is taken away, forced to strip completely, and then taken out of view for the rest of people, presumably to the torture camps of State Ayman.
We heard a few days ago that the Al Auda Hospital, Kamal Adwan, and the Indonesian hospitals, two in Beit Lahia, one in Jabalia, have been closed. This just creates an even greater problem. You will have heard the head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees saying the smell of death is everywhere in northern Gaza. There are so many bodies that are still buried under rubble. I mean, the fact is that these unsanitary conditions will probably also kill people, of course.
Yeah, it's very clearly part of what Israelis call the general's plan. It was put by the former general Giora Island, who called and advocated very openly for spreading diseases and epidemics in Gaza and using starvation as weapons to bring the collapse of society and bring complete surrender and defeat. This is nothing that they are sort of trying to hide. Yesterday, Israel's former deputy head of the National Security Council, Iran Etzion, he came out publicly and called on Israeli soldiers, saying, don't serve in northern Gaza. You are likely committing war crimes. You are taking part in one giant war crime. So you got to a situation where Israel is day and night not even trying to hide that the campaign in northern Gaza has nothing to do with Hamas. They brag daily that this campaign in Jabalia, Beit Lahia, and Beit Hanun is centered and solely focused against the Palestinian population there in their entirety, to empty that area completely of any living soul in it. Israel's Channel 12, the most watched Israeli television, it said all the way in August, when this plan was being in the make and advocated for, it said that this, quote, is the center of the psychological warfare, emptying northern Gaza of everyone that is there. Israel's biggest liberal newspaper, Haaretz, said 2 days ago, it issued a public warning by the editorial board of Haaretz that said Israel, or Netanyahu, is paving the way for the annexation and resettling, building Jewish-only settlements in northern Gaza. So you are now at an unprecedentedly dangerous situation that is unfolding in full view, with very little attention, unfortunately, from Western governments.
Mohammed, what details are known about how much aid is waiting to enter Gaza? There are multiple crossing points. We know that the Israelis have practically blocked every single one of them. But what is waiting to enter?
Well, each entity that is working in Gaza says that they have thousands and thousands of tons that are waiting at the border crossing. Israel has literally perfected the art of using starvation and food as a weapon of war. Only yesterday, the head of Israel's Shin Bet objected and blocked any increase to the entry of aid in Gaza, and he said that we should maintain aid going to a minimal level so that, quote, it can be used as leverage in negotiations. So it is a very explicit use of food as a weapon of war. There is the layer of preventing food from going in. There is the other layer of targeting people, humanitarian workers, on a mass unprecedented scale. You have nothing like this in any global conflict, any conflict around the world for the last 2 decades or more. You have also sort of Israel targeting local police, law enforcement agencies, so that there is looting and chaos on a massive scale, so the aid does not reach its final recipients. And you have UN agencies and other NGOs that are working in Gaza that are saying it's too dangerous for them to operate in the field right now because of the Israeli arbitrary bombarding and shelling of everything that's moving around. Israel is using non-stop shelling and bombing of northern Gaza. I have colleagues in the north, in Gaza City in particular, who say that yesterday, for example, the bombing became very intense at 8 in the evening and it continued until 7 in the morning, where there's an airstrike or a shelling every few seconds, non-stop. And then you have Israel unleashing an army of quadcopter drones armed to shoot to kill people on first sight. And you have Israeli soldiers going in and burning homes, destroying homes, bulldozing homes. So going to great lengths to ensure this mass extermination and also to ensure that northern Gaza is completely unlivable.
Mohammed Shehada, thank you, Mohammed.